face a Sunderland team that haven't lost in 4 games. They've drawn their last 3, one before that against Newcastle, obviously in a massive Northeast derby. Yep. We saw last night they also drew 0-0, but they drew against Man City. We drew against Brentford. Look, they're a very resolute side. They don't concede many goals. They've conceded, I'm looking here, 1 goal in their last 4 games. The manager has just got them set up so well. They did so well in the transfer market as well. How many times have you seen a team come up from the Championship and just struggle, as you've seen Burnley do right now? You know, it's such a hard step up to make, and they've just seamlessly done it. They've brought in so many players. They've all kind of gelled together. Xhaka, who you mentioned earlier,
Yep.
What an unbelievable impact he's had in the Sunderland team. The defensive players as well, all of them have just fit in like a glove, really, and it's a testament to the way that the manager and the board have worked in tandem together and really just gelled everything together. The only team that we haven't faced so far this season, I think going forward offensively, they are a team that you can stop. They aren't the best team, but what they do bring you is sheer physicality, work rate, ethic, desire, and you know that's what you want from a team coming up from the Championship. They're currently sitting 7th in the Premier League table right now. They do have quite a lot of players out for the AFCON. I think it's like 5 or 6 players they've got at the AFCON. But unlike Manchester United, that make the excuses if the players go into the AFCON, we're not strong enough. Like Tottenham, we've got players injured right now. We're not strong enough right now. Thomas Frank says, we've got players out injured. You just wait till we get our players back. It doesn't matter to them, They just say, you know what? We're just going to work harder and we're going to still put in those performances for you guys. So I am worried coming up against this Sunderland team this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think Sunderland have been a breath of fresh air. I love it when teams that have been outside the Premier League for a long, long time, or even play teams like Blackpool or ever come up for the very first time, they give it all they've got. As we were saying earlier on the show, I think Xhaka, pound for pound, has been one of the best signings of the transfer window for what he has brought to Sunderland, for that stability, that experience, that grit and determination. And you just said that they have conceded 1 goal in 4 games. They've kept Haaland quiet. Their defence must absolutely be shitting themselves at our front line, mustn't they? They must be going, oh my God, fear.
They've only lost 2 games since mid-October.
Like I said, they have been a breath of fresh air. They've come in, and let's not forget that Sunderland is a massive, massive football club. And their fans are as passionate as they come. And they have come into this, and you probably thought they were going to be one of the ones. You probably thought that the 3 going up with the 3 going back down again, like it always has been.
Yeah, when I looked at Sunderland, I thought, it's way too many changes here. Way too many.
They've come in, and honestly, they have just done incredibly well. The manager who's come in with no experience in Premier League has taken to it like a duck to water in the first half of the season. They play... Do you know what they play? When we were talking about earlier, when we were doing the review of Brentford, I said there's no desire from the players, there's no fight, there's no... Sunderland show that and then some.
Yeah.
They are, if you want to fight, they'll fight. If they want to, they will give you everything, and they will be a threat at White Hart Lane. They will be, and I will keep calling it White Hart Lane. They will be a threat.
2 old Spurs boys, academy products coming back this weekend. Dennis Sirkin, who obviously we were linked very heavily to in the summer. He was injured at the first part of the season and hasn't been in the squad for a while. But last 2 games, he's played 90 minutes in both games, and apparently he had a very good game last night against Manchester City, which is very impressive to him. Obviously, he was very highly thought of in the Spurs academy, and we thought he was going to go on and make his name at Tottenham. Obviously, it wasn't to be, and he's done a very good job at Sunderland. But what his biggest issue has always been staying fit, and I think that's followed him around his whole career, albeit he's only 23 years of age, so still got a long career ahead of him. But he's a Premier League player now for Sunderland and doing very well. And we're light on the homegrown players, aren't we?
Yep.
On the club-trained players. We're light at left-back. Maybe we should have brought him in.
The Youth Academy doing what it does for us.
His contract is up at the end of the season. Is it someone you'd consider if he carries on in this vein of form?
That's why we didn't go for him this summer. We're getting for free next summer.
Yeah.
Look, you'd want Spurs to do better, wouldn't you? In all honesty, you'd want Spurs to do better than bring back Dennis Sirkin. But if he carries on playing well, then it does help with the homegrown and everything like that. You've also got who's the other one? Romain Mundle.
Yeah. Romain Mundle he's been injured for a lot of this season, but now he's starting to get some minutes off the bench. Last night had 20 minutes. A couple of weeks ago against Brighton got half an hour. Don't think he had a goal contribution or anything like that, but he's another one that was, really highly thought of.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And a tricky winger, which we're lacking.
Yeah. He went to Liège after
Belgium,
Spurs. Yeah, he went to Belgium. Didn't really pull up too many trees there, but Sunderland gambled on him in the Championship, and now he's a Premier League player.
Yep. It's why, like I said, this just goes back to show about what we're doing with this youth academy and players that are going, whether they're too quick, not getting an opportunity, whatever it may be. You'd expect Dennis Serkin to start, wouldn't you? You'd expect Mundle to come off the bench like they've done. And we'll see what Serkin is made of. Like you said yesterday, when we're doing, is it an audition for Sade?
Could be an audition for Serkin.
Yeah. To come home.
Yeah. It will be interesting what he would prefer to do. Like if Sunderland do offer him that new contract and Spurs do come in.
Well, also, you look at it, we have the only negative about, or major negative about bringing him back is we want a left-sided left-back that we can rely on because Destiny can't stay fit. And what will we likely do? Bring in a left-back that can't keep fit and hope that their injuries replace each other.
Yeah. With the players that we have available, though, can you see a possibility? Because we saw it a few weeks ago when Brentford came to Tottenham, we went at them. But we had a Javi then, and Javi was obviously very central to that win and that performance. We don't have a Javi. We don't have a recognised 10. We don't have a recognised creator in the midfield. So how are we going to go out about our business and actually break down this Sunderland team? Because even if we had Javi, as Man City proved yesterday, it's going to be hard to score against this Sunderland team with our best 11 out there.
Mate, you look at it where you go back to the Brentford home game. We also had a Pedro Porro picking balls for fun.
Yeah.
And being able to pick his passes and heavily influential in that game. We also had a Jed Spence terrorising that left wing, literally just bombing forward. Will they do that? Will Pedro Porro find his passing? Sunderland will be all over our play. They will sniff danger, won't they? And you look at that team without Xavi, your two players that you'd expect creativity from, or glimpses that could provide any kind of magic or defence splitting passes, it's Kudus and Porro.
Yeah. And
if them two don't turn up, then the creativity is obsolete, isn't it?
We need to have Kudus to have one of those games where he just is unplayable to get anything from this game, in my opinion, or to take the win in this game, should I say. Because he's going to be our only outlet. I can't see much coming down the left-hand side with Spence and probably will be Muani. I think if it is Odebear, I feel like he could just be physically not up to it because Sunderland are just a highly physical side, probably one of the most physical in the Premier League. So I see Odebear, if he was to start, maybe struggling a little bit in this game. So on the right-hand side, we know Kudus has the physicality. Mm-hmm. We know he has the quality. Just doesn't show it maybe week in, week out. But, he's played a lot of minutes. So he's going to be the X factor for us if we can win the game, isn't he?
He is. And as I said, we need these players to stand up. There's going to be, going into this game, the atmosphere is going to be tense, isn't it? Going into the game. They need to put in a performance in. Kudus needs to be ready to, like you said, have one of those games where he will just try anything, try everything, and try and get past his man and create. But I go back to what you said beforehand about Sunderland being a very physical team, which they are. And they showed that in the North East Derby, didn't they? They were really up for it, like they would be for that sort of game. But this is where, if it is a physical game, the Spurs players we got there turn up and say, right, you want a physical battle, we'll give it to you. Or when the going gets tough, do the weak go hiding?
The sad thing about it is that Sunderland are probably coming into this game being like, you know what, we can have this lot. You know what I mean? That's the worrying thing about it when you've got a team like Sunderland who've just come out from the Championship and have that kind of thinking that, you know what, instead of them being, all right, we're up against it today, we can have this lot.
Mate, this isn't a new thing. This is with Leicester, with Ange, with Ipswich, with Ange, with
Burnley, I think.
Burnley with Conte. This is a thing. This isn't a Thomas Frank thing. This is a Spurs manager thing and Spurs players thing, where we can be good against the good teams and absolutely catastrophically bad against the weaker teams. So I just, like I said, I'm at a loss to even know what to say, what to think, how we're going to go at this. Where you normally go into this and say, right, if Spurs focus there, they could get something out of it. I can't say anything.
In terms of the league position, if we win, I mean, it could be really good for us, to be honest. You know, we could go up to Sunderland. We're 3 points behind Sunderland right now. So, you know, we can't lose this game. We really can't. We can't go 6 points behind Sunderland, surely. They're in 7th spot, so that's the highest we can go. The lowest we can go is on par with Bournemouth, and they're 15th. So, I mean, that just shows you how tight the league table is right now. It's mad, isn't it? Like, as much as we've said, like, you know, we're having such a poor season, it is salvageable, isn't it? Because it's just so tight and everyone is just so inconsistent. That's why it's so important for us to pick up these points in this month when we've got these winnable games. You know, these Sunderlands, your West Hams, your Burnleys. You've got teams that we really should be beating with the quality that we have in the squad, even though, you know, a lot of you say, you know, we've got no quality in the squad. We've got enough quality to win these kind of games. We've shown it. We've already gone to West Ham and won 3-0 this season. So we've already beaten Burnley this season. You know, we've beaten most of these teams already this season. So we've got enough in us to beat these kind of teams. And when you see the fixtures coming up in February, you can't see many points over those games the way we're playing. That's why it's so important to pick up the points now.
Yep. It is, like I said, February is going to be an absolute bitch. Then you could have FA Cup games if we're still in it. Champions League qualifiers, if we need to go through it, we don't make it in the top 8. Like you said, right now it's like 2 games a week all the time, isn't it? And this month needs to be, we need to have an impact. We need to have, we really need to put some points on the board, because like I said, it is salvageable. It is salvageable. This season right now, not where we are, I mean, it's reminding me of the Leicester season when they won the league, but no one around them wanted to go for anything, did they? Every time someone made an error, the other teams around them made an error, and it was just a season that was so unpredictably ridiculous. This is salvageable. Only we can ruin it.
Yeah, and only we can ruin it, and only we can fix it. Yeah. This is all on us. Like, so I was saying, forget about whatever other clubs are doing right now. If we focus on ourselves and we get a few wins behind us, then we can do it. But I just got no hope that we can do it. That's the problem. Like, I think maybe we can pick up a few points. I can't see us beating Sunderland, but the games after that, like, it will be criminal not to win these games. Like Bournemouth away, fine. It's a hard game, even though they're on a hard run. Then we got the FA Cup coming up. We all know what's going to happen in that game.
We're going to win.
Yeah, right.
I'm praying to God.
Then we got the double header of West Ham at home and Burnley away. That has to be 6 points.
That has to be.
That has to be 6 points.
There's no excuses for it not to be. Absolutely none.
So those 2 games is I'm looking at being like, if we don't get 6 points in that, then like seriously, what are we doing here? And we have to pick up some points in the next 2 games as well. Like Bournemouth are on a terrible run. Sunderland, you know, that's probably the hardest game of the lot. But
Bournemouth way we lost last season, didn't we? 1-0.
We lost, yeah. And we should have got battered. Do you not remember that?
I came on and went nuts on the furniture.
Yeah, we got battered that game. It was lucky just to be 1-0. But yeah, look, it's a very hard task. Just looking at the outlook of Tottenham Hotspur right now. There is one guy in the comments that wants me and you to have a domestic.
Okay, who's that?
James. He's saying, Ben, your best pal Brian says we have no quality, so face him. You say we've got no quality?
No, you look at that. Listen, I've given Frank a ton of I wouldn't say abuse, but like where I'm very concerned right now. But the team should be doing better. But honestly, that we are so weak. This is years and years and years and years of bad recruitment. Years and years and years and years of bad getting the wrong players in for the wrong manager and profiles and whatever. And now we're having to live with the consequences. Don't get me wrong, Kudus is there, quality, but he's not showing it right now. Simmons suspended, will be quality, should be showing it. Obviously no Maddison, no Kulusevski for obvious reasons. we've gone from having people like Ginolas, Sons, Waddles, Andertons and wingers, and we're now looking at Tells, Odebears, Mawani. We talk about Mawani. Mawani's come in, can't score a goal for love nor money. Yes, he's got 2 in the Champions League. Yes, he should be given better quality, but it's not working here.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to with Frank and the tactics, which is a very, very fair comment, and especially after yesterday, where he has to take a long hard look at himself and look and say, right, this ain't going to happen, we ain't going to do this. But I don't think this squad is as good as we think it is.
I don't think anyone thinks it's an unbelievable squad. People just think it should be doing better than what it's doing right now. People think that it's not as bad from an attacking standpoint than being on par with Burnley and Wolves.
Look, I'm not saying it's on par with them, but there is no killer instinct. There is no cutting edge. Kudus, yes, but we've seen what Kudus has been like. Look, Kudus potentially, yes, absolutely. And if he's on fire and he's having a good day, he's a nightmare for the opposition.
Put it this way: you're talking about those players that you're talking about, the Odebears, the Tells,
yep,
the Moanis, and these kind of guys that are struggling for us right now. They start for Wolves, they start for Leeds, they start for Burnley, they start. Let's go through the league. You know, in terms of the bottom of the league, they start for West Ham, potentially Forest.
You're right. Well, with West Ham, if you're talking Odebear and Tell, people like that. If Jarrod Bowen's on one wing, which is they're not getting above that, who's the other wing? Somerville at the moment, who's doing reasonably well.
Not doing much, Somerville.
Okay, but they both wouldn't get in.
No, Jarrod Bowen for sure, but like
exactly.
he even starts up front some games. Sometimes they play.
For us, he'd start anywhere for us.
Sometimes they play Lucas Paqueta out of position on the left hand side because they don't believe in Somerville. So if they had one of them, I imagine Paqueta would go more inside and one of them will start on the left hand side.
Okay.
So I'm saying they've got players. They've got Callum Wilson up front, who's not exactly doing much. Like Moani, Richarlison, one of them would start up front for them, for sure. Well, you didn't take Callum Wilson at Spurs.
A few seasons ago, I would have.
Not now, though.
Not now. But you look at it, he's getting goals for West Ham.
Is he, though? How many has he scored?
He's got more than Moani.
How many has he scored?
He's scored a few in the Premier League, I believe.
He scored 4 in the Premier League.
Okay, that's 4 more than Moani.
Yeah, but Richarlison is the one that's scoring the goals for us.
Okay. But when Richarlison isn't having a good day, and you take him off...
But I'm telling you...
I'm not saying Callum Wilson I would have over Moani. I'm not saying that, but we've got players there, and they have the quality, they're just not doing it. Mm-hmm. And this has gone from years and years and years of papering over cracks, not buying the...
But that's what I mean. It all comes down to the tactics, though.
It also comes back down to the managers beforehand, owners beforehand, by not replacing valuable players.
Yeah, that we don't disagree with. I'm not saying that we're at the quality where we want to be. We're nowhere near the quality where we want to be, but we've got enough quality to show better than the teams I just mentioned, and we're not doing so. That's the problem here.
No, I don't dispute that. I'm just saying I don't think this squad is as good as we think it is.
But where do we think it is? Where do people think it is?
You speak to Spurs fans and you see it in the chats, you see it on social media. I don't think, if you were to say Spurs fans right now, where do you think we should be? It will be all over the place. There won't be one that stands out head and shoulders above it. It'll be a clear indication.
I think we've got a good enough squad to finish in the top half for sure.
Top half, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Potentially even top 7.
Top half, absolutely. That I've got no bones about.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that where we are, we need some attacking guile. We need a midfielder that can pass the football, a ball-playing central midfielder. We don't have those. We're saying like we're not creating for the quality. The quality, like we're saying, Simmons, Kudus, even let's put Mawani in there. Doesn't matter if you can't get the service to him and the midfield can't get the ball to him and we can't dictate the play. It's all well and good.
Yeah, but it's all down to tactics, in my opinion. All down to tactics. There is no reason why this team that we have now are creating the same amount or less than some of the teams that I mentioned down at the bottom of the league. It's just not on. And for me, it all comes down and back to the manager. All of it.
Like I said, again, we created 8 chances yesterday, 1 on target.
Mm-hmm.
That, whereas style of play, I grant you right with the but when you create 8 and you're only having 1 on target, that's also a quality issue. You need to be more ruthless. So it's 6 and 1.
But he needs to be putting them in a position where they can have more than 8 shots in a game.
Well, you said, the Richarlison cross.
Yeah, that was poor. That was one moment that was poor, 100%. And we know, like, Richarlison on his day can put it in the back of the net. On another day, the ball will just bounce off him and he'll spend 80 minutes on the floor. Like,
but that's what I'm saying, what we were going back to. We've had players in our recent history, going back years and years and years, where you would always say there is one player that if they have one moment, 1 second, they will dig us out of problems. They will get us out of trouble. And there's no one at the moment.
Yeah.
There's no one. As good as Kudus can be.
The tactics should be able... What tactics are there? They should be able to help us in situations.
Yeah, like I said,
and they're not helping us in any situation because the tactics are absolutely shambolic that we're playing week in, week out. And if we actually had a bit of tactics that can spur games in our favour and turn games in our favour, then you might be seeing a few more shots on target and the XG up a little bit and Spurs being able to create and actually Spurs fans enjoying what they're seeing right now. But we're not, because the tactics are non-existent. They're set up for us not to fail, but we're failing every week.
Like I said, this is what we said at the beginning of this stream, and I agree with that. I really want to see us go, like we said, and like Stel said yesterday, and I said a few weeks ago, I want to see us play 3 at the back and have Porro and Spence flying up there, because I think they can be a lot more creative for us and give us that thing that we're missing, but we're not doing it.
I don't know what the answer is, man. It's just absolute sad state of affairs at Tottenham Hotspur. But look, we went off on a bit of a tangent, but that is your match preview for the Sunderland game. Me and Brian will be back in on the watch along on Sunday, so tune into that. Yep. What time's kick-off on Sunday? 3 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah, so
at least we get home at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So come and tune in. We'll be going live at 2:45. Sim is the one that... Sim will be back and he will be in that stadium. So pray for him. You got a couple of super chats just before we